Hey there, all you spicy little shapes. This is Erico Blueberry. It's an unassuming Destiny podcast. My name is chillybin.
I'm Meckii.
I am the final chillybin. You are the final Meckii. The final shape is finally here. I was thinking about making shapes with my hands, but I put on my Deepstone Crypt jacket and it makes a lot of noise when I move. So, for the sake of you watching or listening to this, well, yeah, I'm just not going to do that. I'm going to try and sit absolutely still for the rest of this episode.
The final shape was the friends we made along the way.
Wasn't it just? Um, so, to set the tone, I guess, for this episode, there will be spoilers aplenty because we have both finished the campaign up to the point where the raid is like needs to be completed by someone, and then that unlocks like the last bit. I've done a bunch of the kind of post campaign stuff. I think you've done one or two things. We're largely just going to talk about the campaign and everything in there. So if you haven't done it and you want to maintain, a fresh perspective, pause this thing, go finish it, and then come back
We'll be
because
here.
we will be here, and there's a lot to talk about. We also didn't take any notes in like the shared space that we put them, so we're both gonna. I made a whole stack of notes in a like text file, so I'm gonna be pulling off that. I think you've got some on your end as well. We're just gonna vibe our way through this one. We're gonna see how we go. It's
We have a lot to unpack and process.
boy do we. So I think first thing to say is we played the campaign through together with our buddy Alex, pretty much up to. Did we get to the last mission or the second to last?
Final mission. Final mish. We called it quits in the last boss fight.
Well, yeah, it was like the one encounter right before the final boss fight. Yeah.
It's the roll into the boss fight, yeah.
Yeah. So we got to all listen as Meckii cried 4 times throughout the campaign.
Yeah.
This is not me poking fun, by the way. I also had a few moments teared up. I think at similar spots because you would kind of like come back into the call and just like I'm okay, and I'm like yeah, same dude. I get it. But yeah, they I think someone from Bungie described it as like a cathartic campaign. That's their intent. Is like it's the end of a big story, sure, but like there will be emotionally resonant moments throughout, and boy, were there.
Yeah, it's definitely really heavy and like little Easter egg moments for
Yeah.
people who've been there. I wouldn't say necessarily since day one, but at least early in Destiny 2's life cycle.
Yeah, lots of callbacks, lots of references, lots of loose ends getting tied up. I should also say, like, as we're recording this right now, for us it is like Saturday afternoon. The raid race is still happening. No one has beat it yet, and they have
I
been.
think
They've been at it for like
people are
12
stuck
hours.
most people are stuck on the fourth encounter.
Yeah.
And prior to that, it looked like a huge contingency of the raid races got stuck on encounter 2 as well.
Yeah.
For a long time.
Yeah. We're not going to talk about any of the raid, I think, until we've done it ourselves. There will be, I imagine, because like someone beating the raid unlocks the end of the storyline for everybody in the game. So there will probably be something from the raid reflected in the game to everybody. We'll talk about that when we get to see it. But as for the raid itself, I kind of want to hold off on that until we can actually get in and see it for ourselves. So yeah, we are just going to dive in, I guess. I think the most interesting thing for me, as soon as it starts off, and I thought they might be doing this. We had the launch trailer. where there's like all these visions the witness is showing people of like getting sliced up and doing their nefarious shit. And that kind of was presented in that trailer out of sequence and in a misleading fashion. So the way that it's introduced in the game is actually like, oh, the scene we saw of like the last city and the people walking through the market and everything getting fucking ended. That was like, it seemed to be a vision that the witness presented to everybody everywhere of just like,
yeah,
hey, I'm done. We're wrapping this shit up now. You can all go home. Psych, you're all dead. Because there's like, yeah, the kid looking up at the sky drops the apple, and then that whole vision happens, and then like comes back to that scene in the market. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I see what you're going for here.
and it's like everyone in the last city is like visibly shaken.
Yeah, yeah, because it's not just like that kid had that moment and is now fucking traumatized.
It was everyone,
Everybody's
including
like
Guardians.
screaming.
And even the Guardians were like, you can see the Guardians in the scene are even visibly shaken as well.
Yeah.
Like them and their ghosts just being like, what the fuck?
Yeah. And then we go into the Traveler, right? Like it's pretty quick succession.
It seems like the witness finally having enough power to project that across the whole last city and scare, well, pretty much everywhere, and scare the shit out of the Vanguard was, it seemed to have kicked Ikora and Zavala almost into panic mode.
Yeah.
And Mara, because Mara lost contact with Crow.
Yeah.
So basically it was all the people who were meant to be the calm ones telling, like the head of the spear telling us when to go, what to do. They're all panicking.
Yeah.
In their own little ways. Like Ikora and Zavala obviously don't show panic, but it was clear they were panicking. They were like, shit, we need to go now.
It seemed to me like when two parents are waiting for the imminent birth of their child, they've gone through the planning, they've got everything set up, they've got the go bag, and it's like, oh no, it needs to happen right now. The plan needs to start now.
Yeah, like when the water breaks, it's like panic mode.
They'd thought about everything, but it was that very much that reaction of like, oh, the time has come. We have to go and do this thing now.
Yeah. So it was just like, we're going now, full send.
Yeah.
In we go.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And then it's like flying to the portal, then we're like going through some weird architecture shit, and you come across like some enemies that you literally cannot defeat. You cannot even damage. And they don't do that often, thankfully, because it's like kind of confronting because you try to kill them and you're like, oh, I'm just dead now. So then you're just like running away and you get sucked into the Traveler. It's very funny.
Sucked.
The big suck.
Especially when you don't expect it happening. So we're all running together and then we hit that platform and all of a sudden it's just like,
yeah,
we were all like, whoa.
Yeah.
Took us off guard.
Yeah. And then there was there was a cutscene that we probably watched the first half of about 8 times between various error codes. But like, hey, that's day one on our launch. We're not going to talk about the error codes and all of that stuff because like we got through it.
I will just make an anecdotal joke about it, I guess, a little bit. Was today I was putting my shopping list together and I'm making like muesli bars as part of my meal prep, and one of the ingredients was currant, and I got really upset. I'm not putting currants in my muesli bars. Fuck you.
I've had enough for this month.
I've had enough currants, thank you.
But yeah.
It is what it is, though. Yeah. We pushed through.
Yeah, and like every launch has some amount of this. It's also like at least on Steam, it was like the highest concurrent, almost a record number of concurrent players. So, hey man, like game's popular,
and
it got there after what 6-8 hours. It was eventually pretty stable.
Yeah, it's one of those things too that like people will hear you and I have this kind of conversation, and I'll just put it out there now. This isn't us simping for Bungie or sweeping for Bungie. It's a video game.
Yeah.
And the amount of vitriol that I saw on Twitter while we were keeping an eye on the Bungie help updates.
Yeah.
Guys, it is a video game. While you're waiting for the game to go online, maybe go outside.
Yeah.
Go for a walk.
Or just remember that like
Make yourself a coffee.
Pretty much the only time the game is having these kind of issues is like one day a year when they're launching a
Yeah.
new expansion. It's
It's just I
fine.
know that people would hear us make this argument and be like, "Oh, you're sweeping for Bungie," and it's like, no, it's just it's a video
Yeah,
game.
it's also the reality of like a massively multiplayer online video game is
Yeah,
sometimes when the servers get slammed, despite your best preparations, despite ramping up capacity, it can still get away from you. That's just online software. That's how that shit works.
yeah, and it's like people are like, "Oh, you can tell by the sales numbers." You would not be surprised how many people bought the game night before
Mm,
or decided day of, you know what, fuck it, I am gonna buy
yeah,
that expansion. I'll jump on. You
yeah,
know? But yeah, it's not us sweeping for Bungie. We know Bungie has some big flaws, and we've seen them come to light in the last 12 months. It's a video game.
yeah,
It's not life or death.
yeah,
It's a game,
yeah.
and you can play it, and even after the errors, the content is still there. You can play it.
That's it. And we did. So we eventually
Yeah.
saw that whole cutscene as we're making our way into the Traveler. You get the like callback to very early Destiny cutscenes of like the bird made out of light kind of streaking through the sky, which I think was like opening of D2 or maybe even D1.
Yeah.
Um,
They got arty with it.
they did, yeah. And there was like the shot of the Traveler and all of the ghosts coming out of it. And then it just seemed like everything was getting corrupted by darkness. And, you know, there was like,
Yeah.
there was one of the feathers, and then there was like the black inky shit kind of.
And then you see like a split second of like the bird's wing being kind of strapped down by I kept calling it Venom because it
It,
looks like a
it
symbiote.
really did. Yeah.
Venom. You see like the bird's wings kind of be pinned down
Mm,
by the which I guess is like a metaphor for, you know, clipping a bird's wings.
yeah.
You know, making something less powerful is to clip its wings.
Yeah. And I think this trailer kind of confirms that little clip from the launch trailer of the person getting prismatic was one of the three on Mars. Like it
Yeah.
more clearly kind of showed that setup of them being on Mars, and then it looked like a very similar landscape. It wasn't like identical kind of rock formations and things like that, but it seemed to be them saying like, yeah, we did mean that.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely I did it again. I googled the 3 astronauts' names
You
from,
don't
like,
remember
the
it.
beginning, and
Yeah.
I forgot it.
It's fine. Because
Um,
this also like this whole cutscene seemed very more like it was metaphors and not actually events that happened.
yeah, see, to me, for prismatic to happen that early, that kinda suggested to me, if we're gonna look at metaphors and interpretation, that suggested to me that maybe the Traveler has always been a mixture of dark and light.
Because
If it was able to gift prismatic
the way it's presented,
from
like
Discovery.
the way it's presented in the game as you work your way through the campaign, is more that it's trying to help us by giving us some new tool, or like it's some new discovery.
It's like the coalescence of
Yeah, because like
but, like, to
darkness is
be
now
able to
inside
give
the
it
Traveler, so it's able to like kind of do that.
yeah, but to be able to give it from that early on, like, when humanity found it,
Mm,
is really interesting.
yeah,
I don't know, maybe I read too deep into it, but, like, fuck, those cutscenes are gorgeous.
so good.
So pretty.
Yeah, and
That
then
new engine do be new engineering, like,
yeah, yeah. Well, just shout out to the art team, just generally, and trailers and animations and all the stuff. It just looks so good.
the creative teams absolutely knocked it out of the park.
Yeah. So we find
Um,
ourselves inside the Traveler, and we
and we
kind of
try to sneak up on Cade.
even way before that, like just some of the landscape shit. Like one of the first things you see, you come out of a cave and there's like these giant ghosts embedded in the landscape, and they are the size of a fucking building. They are massive, and you see that kind of repeated a lot throughout the landscape inside the Traveler. But that was like basically one of the first things you see once you get through. And shit, that was confronting.
Yeah.
Like in a really positive
Then
way, but it was just like I was not ready for
like
this.
we were like, "Oh, big ghosts, current."
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
oh,
Pretty
don't
much.
compliment the ghosts.
Yeah. You have to neg the ghosts. But
Yeah,
yeah.
it's gorgeous. It's like it's not like any landscape that we've seen in a really long time in this game where it's vibrant and full of life and there's, bright blue water, crystal clear water and green grass and flowers
Mm,
growing everywhere and I picked up the sound design is you can hear animals chittering and like it's so full of life
yeah.
and light, and it's so even I can't run if I run my graphics too high, my computer crashes, as we've learned. Even on like medium graphics, it was gorgeous.
Mm,
Like even if you don't have the most powerful PC, you are going to get a really excellent experience in this landscape.
yeah. Yeah. And then I think before we run into Cade, we have our first little taste of prismatic. Because we're going
Yes.
through
So
some
we're being
buildings and enemies pop
we're being
out.
led by the bird.
Yeah. And yeah, there's like these pools of energy that you jump in, and it's just like, here's prismatic, I guess.
You cool jujitsu.
Yeah. And oh my god, prismatic fucking whips. Like
I love
even
it
just
fucks
even just the first
so
version they
hard.
give you, which is like maybe a third of what you'll eventually have, is unlocked. Um, at least, yeah. So for Titans, it's like a combination of strand and arc. So it like the grenade will suspend people and then shock the shit out of them. Titans and Warlocks have like different combinations there as well, but
I got void stasis.
yeah, yeah, and it's just so much fun. Like being able to combine all these different bits of tech. Like what I'm running at the moment is for the Titan, the thruster, the dodge that you get. And I unlocked that chest piece that when you activate your class ability, it shoots rockets. So I am dodging backwards, rockets are coming out and hitting things. And a thing I didn't realize about that chest piece is that when you do the rocket trick, it gives you empowered rockets for like 6 to 10 seconds or something.
Oh,
And you can get up to 6 rockets loaded, so it'll give you like differing amounts of stacks of this bonus. So it is at the moment like I've just been running around the Traveler and just like melting everything by just like building up charges,
I
dodging, and then hitting them with a rocket from a distance.
I so Prismatic made getaway artist gauntlets relevant again,
Okay, what does that do again?
which is crazy. I was just secretly opening dim so I could tell you because I knew you'd ask, and then also I got the new Warlock helm. I picked the exotic helm. I had to look at the way it looks.
Uh huh.
Um, Getaway artist gauntlets are, I think, if you hold your grenade, it launches a arc soul.
Okay. Yeah.
So I can do that, but then I've also got the stasis aspect on, so I can simultaneously drop a turret and have an arc
Oh.
soul. And then I've got the new solar aspect on. So when I drop a rift, I
Mm-hmm.
get basically the solar version of an arc soul.
Oh my god.
And that's why I called it my little freaks build when I was talking to you the other day.
Yeah. That's a lot of little
Yeah.
freaks, but a
The other
diverse
one I've
set of
been
little freaks.
yeah, I don't discriminate. I love all my little freaks. Um the other thing I've started playing with is Boots of the Assembler
Mm.
for my heal build.
Yeah.
My healing build, my solar support lock. So it's like bringing shit that I haven't touched in forever
Yeah.
back into the fold. At the moment, I am using the new speaker's sight, Horizon Zero Dawn looking ass helm.
Yeah.
Um, Healing grenades spawn a restorative turret. Healing allies occasionally spawns an orb of power.
Yes.
Oops, another turret.
Yes.
So
Hell
at the
yeah.
moment, my solar prismatic support lock is just turrets.
Yeah.
it's a healing turret, it's a solar turret, it's a stasis turret.
Yeah.
It's just there is a lot happening on screen, and I'm terrified it's going to crash my PC sometimes.
Yeah.
But
I think mine I would describe as more like debuff central. So I've got the void shield
we're doing
throw.
that thing where we're balancing again, where you're debuffing and I'm healing.
Yeah. Well, what I've worked out is that this build actually works really well for solo play as well, because like the void shield throw will make enemies volatile so they explode, but it also gives me an overshield, which is really helpful. The grenade I'm running is the strand one that the little bolos that suspend them.
Oh,
So
yep.
just freeze them up in the air and I can just wail on them. And then yeah, the thruster dodge will one shoot rockets now because I have the chest piece, but also one of the aspects I put on is one of the strand ones that means when you do the thruster, it leaves behind a tangle that suspends everything nearby. So like the rockets
So
will,
if you're in the middle of a group of ads,
yeah. So I can suspend things and the rockets will track to different things, and it just shuts a whole shitty situation down. But the super that I've started running with is Twilight Arsenal, the new Void one, because it does a ton of damage and also leaves me the weapons around that I can pick up and then just do a bunch more. It's
and your
been
homies can pick up
yeah,
too.
it's been very fun doing that
Yeah.
because the Titan prismatic defaults you into Blade Fury, the Strand one, where you're running around just punching shit. But I was finding that, especially on the legendary campaign that we went through, it was just leaving me too close to enemies and I was getting beat up. So I wanted something with a bit more range, and switching to that was a really good choice. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just
So
continuing to unlock more of the tools for Strand. Like I think I'm 2/3 done. Sorry, for Strand, for Prismatic, because a bunch of it's hidden behind like post campaign quests and things like that.
yeah, I unlocked Strand this morning.
Mm. Yeah, it's so much fun.
It's so fun. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
And it was so funny running it with because I did Lightfall alone
yeah.
until we did the legendary together. So seeing all that stuff with your friends for the first time, it very much brought back memories of like Beyond Light,
Mm.
where we get an enemy and we're like, oh no.
Yeah.
Like it was the Briggs all over again.
Yes.
But then us immediately getting prismatic and then just all of us start laughing.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, because it's like I'm combining things that were never initially intended to work this way. One character should not have this much power, and yet here I am.
it's like the first time I popped the Warlock Stasis Super. And you were just like, Meckii, what the fuck is that?
Yeah,
And I was like, I don't know, but it whips.
yeah. And also shout out to the Call, a kinetic sidearm that I dropped. I've dropped like 3 or 4 of them, but it's a strand sidearm.
Rocket sidearm?
Yeah, rocket assisted frame. But
It is putting in.
I dropped one with subsistence and threadlings, right? Is it threadlings? Hatchling is the name of the perk, but the thing that like drops little green freaks that go and track down enemies. But like a lot of it's a green special ammo sidearm, so it hits really fucking hard, and those rounds kind of track just a little bit. But for like small ads, I'm getting 1-hit kills. For like even an ogre, I'll take that down in like maybe 3 of those little things.
Yeah.
And like with subsistence on it as well, like I'm just almost never running out of ammo. Well, never having to reload. I do run out of ammo because you can only hold like 40 something rounds for it.
Yeah.
But it did a lot of work in that campaign.
It's fun. It's fun too.
Yeah. But yeah, back to the story. We then find Cade, and he's like, we're trying to sneak. We're not trying to sneak up on him. We're just like approaching cautiously because we don't know who that is. And Cade is like, "Is that you, Crow?" And then
He's like, Crow, you need to get new boots or something.
Yeah, something like that. And then yeah, there's a whole like he gets his own animated cutscene about like his experience of coming back, which
I thought it
yeah.
was. Yeah,
So essentially,
yeah,
it's him
talking about what it was like to be dead,
well, it's also he was describing
and
the
he.
experience of like he was with his ghost Sundance, and they felt like they were kind of one and together, and then he got pulled away. So he doesn't have a ghost. He doesn't have the light. He's in that kind of what Osiris situation of just like I could die again, I guess. I mean, Osiris didn't die, but you know what I mean. They could just be gone.
Yeah. But it was just him being like, "Yeah, after I died, it was nothing, but at the same time, it was like it was everything."
Yeah,
And
described it as
people
actually
being
being
like,
like quite
"Well,
a pleasant thing.
how did how did you feel?" And he was just like, "Light."
Yeah,
He's like, "I was with Sundance." Was it Sundance? Yeah.
yeah,
And Sundance was with me, and it was just peaceful and light and safe.
yeah.
And then, yeah, being ripped out of that.
Yeah, there's this. I think our ghost describes it as like the ghost kind of scans him or something, and is like says that Kate is made of light, like a ghost is, which I thought was really interesting because we do get confirmation throughout this that he's back because of a wish Crow made. They just outright have that conversation at some point.
Yeah, Crow is aware of that's
Yeah,
what happened.
yeah,
Like, he immediately connected the dots
yeah,
when he
but
saw
it's like
Cade.
it's a conversation that the two of them have privately, and they're not sharing that with everybody else because they're like, well, the traveler brought them back or something. It's like, no, actually, it's a result of a wish, and we don't know how that got twisted. So maybe let's just not tell them. A
Yeah.
little bit sneaky.
But yeah, so we meet up with Cade, and Cade is basically like, "So Crow's missing. Lost contact with him."
Also, his haircut sucks. Just
Yeah.
fully roasts that fool.
Straight up bullied his haircut, which is so funny. As someone who bullies Ghost Crow for his haircut,
Yeah,
that made me cackle.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Good stuff.
and then yeah, we're basically told by, I guess, is it Mara? Go find Crow. And Cade's like, yeah, you need to go find Crow.
I don't know if it is
Um,
Mara because like we don't really have communication out with people outside the traveler.
yeah, because the travelers blocked the
Yeah,
communication essentially.
something is blocking it, but
It also seems like when, so just as a little bit of a spoiler, we lose Crow in a cave, and Glint couldn't go into the cave, so it's a dark zone basically.
yeah,
And it seems like when Crow stepped into that cave, Mara lost contact with him as well
right, okay,
from some of the voice lines.
yeah, yeah. I mean, my notes here are not helping because I was very quickly like jotting stuff down while we were trying to actually just like get through it.
Yeah. So that's our first kind of fetch quest in
Just
typical
fetching Quo.
Bungie fashion. Fetch quests.
I said fetching Quo because it was like quest, but Quo.
fetch Quo.
Fetch Quo. Where Quo?
Wow. Um, so yeah, that kind of motivates us to travel deeper into the Traveler.
Yeah, and like the map for the Pale Heart of the Traveler is really interesting. Like it is basically just one long connected map from the entry point to kind of
Yeah.
the middle of everything where the witness is. And the campaign is basically you just moving through that. And then after the campaign, it is your patrol zone and you can just go through it and it's fine. But yeah, it was interesting to look at the map and be like, oh, I have to just keep scrolling. Oh, it's over there.
Yeah. And then the next thing I remember as part of trying to find Crow is the Lost City is revealed.
Yes.
And that was Meckii Cry 1.
Yes. That was also Chili Cry 1. You like
'Cause
you come through a doorway and you just straight up see the tower, like the
the
courtyard.
tower, And then they play the OG Destiny like theme stinger
Yeah.
over the top of it, like the tower theme.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I said to you guys, I'm like, holy fuck, I'm so lame. And then I just started fucking crying.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it was like, yes, it's fan service, but I don't feel like it was um overdone or corny or anything. It was like, it wasn't
It felt like
just
seeing an
here's the
old
old,
friend.
yeah, it wasn't like here's the old tower, remember this. It was like, no, there's like bits and pieces of kind of different things joined together in odd angles.
And it's overgrown. There's trees
Yeah,
growing
but
through
it's
it, and it's full of
unmistakable,
grass.
unmistakable what each part is.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, that started the cry counter. Because like honestly, I was expecting something heavy other than everyone being pyramid architectured
Yeah.
in the opening scene. I was expecting something pretty heavy to kick things off.
Mm-hmm.
So when that didn't happen, I kind of like relaxed a bit. I was like, oh, this might not actually kick me in the guts as much as I thought it would. And I knew the tower was coming because they'd already told us that
Yeah.
it was going to be there. I feel like, to me, I don't think they should have spoiled that. I think they should have kept that. That's just me, though. But walking around the corner and being hit with that stinger
Yeah.
and then just stopping and taking it in and, you know, having Ghost be like, "Is that the tower? Is that
Yeah.
the old tower?" I was just like, "Ah, fuck, here we go."
Yeah. Yeah. And there's like a room sort of in the back of it that is like the original war table room.
War table room.
And you go through there. Um, yeah, it's just very cool as like someone who has played the game for a long time to see that at the end of it, quote unquote, the end. You know what I mean? The game will continue,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was kind of nice. Just like little safe haven surrounded by old friends, except it's a room with a table.
Yeah. Um, and then you kind of start to encounter the new race they invented.
The
I
dread.
forgot the dread.
Yeah, lots of
Um,
weird angular body parts.
undulating torsos.
Yeah, and like the little flying bat freaks that were
And
just a
they've got a
lot of,
stasis
yeah,
ability
they
that
just
yank you.
gave us so much trouble.
Um, they're great. I like them. Having to look up in Destiny now is kind of weird.
Yeah. Yeah, enemies are not just on
I
the
don't think
ground.
we've really had an airborne enemy
I
except
mean,
for Shanks.
wizards,
Yeah.
what are the other ones? Shriekers? But you know a shrieker's there. This is like just above your normal eye line. These little bat freaks. I don't even remember what they're called.
Just little freaks.
Just
We
yeah.
just we have a love-hate relationship with this new race.
Yeah.
I think we've just been calling them freaks the entire
Yeah, I
time.
don't know. I
But
don't know what else to call them.
their design is cool. They're a fun fight.
Yeah. And it's also
Um,
like we get prismatic pretty early. We also get exposed to what I think they call them like bound enemies, but it's basically like you need to hit them once while you're prismatic, like transcendent rather. You have to actually like activate it, hit them, and then it pops that layer off them, and then
it's
they're just,
basically a new shield type, yeah.
yeah, but it's not one that regenerates from what I've seen. You just kind of
No.
hit them once when you're transcendent, and then it's gone, and then you just go into like regular damage. But sometimes it means you pop that layer off them, and then they have a regular elemental shield underneath.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck, dude? Pick one.
Bro, save some shields for us.
Yeah, you see that, like, in addition to just dread enemies and them being kind of rough in spots, like they also have these variants where you have to like build up prismatic, activate it, and then hit them one time.
Um yeah. And then we leave the last city and kind of start pressing forward. And then we find we have to do the dials,
Well, yeah,
which is introducing us kind of to one of the new first mechanics that you'll encounter through
just through
this
light and
section
dark
of
modes and things like that again. Yeah,
yeah,
remember Prophecy, the dungeon?
prophecy. And that's great. Shout out to that tweet of getting too many motes and just watching the dial spin to feel
Just to
something.
feel something, yeah. Um,
Great tweet.
but yeah, I think like the next kind of big, or the main story beat for a little bit there is like 1 tracking down Ikora and then 2 tracking down Zavala, like in that order, because they both come
Yeah.
through, but essentially like they've crashed their ships off somewhere else and we have to go find them.
But yeah, so we seek out Crow and he's in like a dark area and we
Oh yeah,
get
we're still
more
there. Yeah.
juxtaposition by the witness. And it's basically the witness explaining to us through a series of like statues and images
Oh yeah, and there's like dark cave
um,
sections.
that like he was trying basically to lead Crow astray, where
Mm-hmm.
he was like, oh, I offered him the ultimate peace, just him and his sister. And it shows he and Mara in statue form looking happy. And it was like he rejected it. And then I offered him riches and basically making him a king. And it shows him sitting on Mara's throne. And oh, he rejected it. And just basically trying to explain, I guess, in a way, the witness trying to break down Crow and make him a disciple or make him at least a weapon. And
Yeah.
Crow withstood all of that.
Mm.
But then also covertly trying to manipulate the Guardian as well, because there are ways where he's like, "Oh, but this could be yours." Crow said no,
Yeah.
but this could be you. You could also have this because Crow said no.
Yeah.
I'd be willing to offer it to you now. And just pushing through that, and then is it him that it shows the Iron Lord, the 2 wolves and the hammer or the axe as well, or is that someone else?
I don't know, man. I'd have
Yeah.
to go through it again at this
We were
point.
8 hours deep at that point.
Yeah.
Um, and then, yeah, you eventually find Crow, and Crow's like, I fucked up. Where's Glint? I miss him." And we're like, "We'll
Also, get me out
reunite
of
you guys. Come on."
get me out of here.
Yeah. Get me out of here. And then we meet back up. There's some dialogue explaining more of that, and then that's kind of where Crow was like, "Hey, so Kate, I know how you came back, and it's not the Traveler.
Yeah.
Just FYI."
Yeah.
Um, and then yeah, we get, I think Mara or someone finally breaks through, or even I think Cade. Someone mentions that they saw Ikora's ship go
I
down.
think that is like a broken radio signal from Mara, actually.
Yeah, yeah. So we're sent on a quest to find Ikora, and we find her, but we find her at the Tree of Silver Wings.
Yeah, she's just fucking like meditating while there's just a horde of
She's
enemies
just
coming at her.
we're defending her, and she's just standing there yapping with the Traveler,
Just eyes shut. Just don't bother
having a
me.
kiki with the Traveler.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's basically like, it's screaming. So
Yeah.
I tried to talk to it, and the Traveler is in pain. It is screaming. And you're
Yes.
like, oh shit, the Travelers can scream.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't need to know that. Cheers.
That's horrifying.
Uh-huh.
And then she just walks off.
Yeah.
Which I think made all of us laugh, because she's just like, okay, anyway, bye.
Yeah, I've got what I came for. Oh, you guys had to fight like 100 enemies? I had no idea. Anyway, see ya.
She's like, hey, thanks for finding me. My ship went down. I'm fine. My ghost is fine. Tried yapping with the Traveler. Guess what? Just screaming.
Yeah, not
Anyway, bye.
Yeah, pretty much.
See ya.
Yeah. Yeah. And so this is where I want to like point out that like after each kind of mission, you go back to a campfire every time.
Yeah.
And the campfire is always right next to where you're standing as you finish the mission. So it's like they are just setting up these camps along the way. It's very cute, but also like very funny, but also I kind of appreciated not having to travel back to a spot just to have a conversation to come back here every time.
Colonizing the Traveler.
It's pretty good. Actually, the exotic weapon quest, I think it's called Wildcard, the one for the sniper rifle. It has you setting up one of the camps. I'm just going to say that. It's very funny.
That's fun.
But yeah, there's one of those campfire scenes after finding Ikora where like obviously Cade being back is going to upset her, and it's it's like where I think they've done pretty well with the writing for Cade is having him like really showing contrition and like knowing that this is going to be tough for people is him being there. And
Yeah,
he's not
like
like trying to
he
over solve everything. He's just like, I know it sucks.
yeah, he basically she has a bit of a mentee B over it.
Yeah.
Like she's
I
just
mean,
basically
fair.
standing there screaming like, "No, you can't do this." She's like screaming basically at the I think she initially thinks it's the traveler because she's
Mm.
like screaming like, "You can't do this. This can't," like just basically a little bit of like a "Are you fucking kidding me?"
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
Like she seems genuinely pissed he's back, which is the funniest part. Because, yeah, even leading up to it, Cade's like, "Hey, so it's gonna be hard for her to see me, and we left things on a pretty bad foot."
Yeah.
Um, and she lectures him, which is the funniest thing, where she's just like, "Do you realize what you did when you died? Like, you left us to pick up all the pieces and run the vanguard without you because you're a stupid idiot."
Yeah.
And, yeah, Cade's just like, "Yeah, I know, I fucked up."
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty much what he says in PG terms. He's like, "Yeah, I know. I know I hurt you.
Yeah.
I hurt everyone. I left you guys in a really bad place by doing what I did. Like I messed up, I know." And then they hug it out a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like there is still a bit of the like Cade, the old Cade in the writing throughout this, less so in the campaign, more so in the post campaign stuff. And I think that's just,
It's
you know, that,
matured.
yeah, like that's just his personality, but there is a lot more of this stuff of him going like, oh, I actually understand that like this is hard for people. And he's actually like expressing that as opposed to just like having this external face of like, I'm just going to do the haha cowboy stuff. And you just have to assume
It
inside I'm a good person.
it's exact I feel like the writing kind of hit the nail on the head what when we were talking about Cade and Hunters in a couple of episodes ago, where we wanted to see Cade mature as a character.
Mm,
And I feel like we're getting that.
yeah.
We're getting a more humble, scared Cade. Like he's scared.
Yeah.
Um, and we're getting a more introspective Cade as well.
Yeah.
And I think it's part of him realizes like the catch 22 of him being back is he might not be back forever.
Yeah. And also like once he like learns that it's from a wish, it's there is a bit of it of like, well, this could just stop at some time because that's the terms of the wish, right?
Yeah.
Like who knows?
So it definitely feels like he's mending his bridges.
Mm,
And so that if he does go again, I feel like he wants to leave things in a better place than he did
yeah.
last time,
Yeah.
which I can respect. And yeah, the humor is a lot more mature.
Yeah.
Mature.
Yeah.
It's evolved with the writing, and he still has these ha-ha finger guns moments, but they don't feel so obnoxious.
Well, it's also not only
And they
that.
feel yeah, and they feel better timed.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Yes, we do that. Ikora's back. Now let's go find Zavala. Right?
Zavala struggling.
Yeah, he is having a lot of like I would call it a crisis of faith of like Traveler isn't just solving this for us, nothing is working. Um is basically like I'm gonna just attack this motherfucker mode, right?
Yeah, and you find out it's the reason he is just like, "Fuck this, full send," is because I think initially from the launch trailer, we thought the witness was tempting him,
Mm,
but as we learnt in the campaign, the witness is taunting him. He's torturing him basically.
yeah.
And that's the way he's attempting to break Zavala. So temptation is kind of how he tried to break Crow by
Yeah.
being like, "This is how things could be." Whereas he seems to be a lot more he is torturing Zavala with his pain and tempting Zavala
Mm,
with his pain and pushing him that way. Um, yeah, it was really interesting. I sat down and unpacked it a little bit after, and I was like, it felt like he was trying to, in a way, reel Crow in with temptation, But with Zavala, it feels like he's trying to beat Zavala down to win, to get him over.
Yeah.
He's trying to weaken him to get him to be a disciple.
Yeah, that's it. Like it's the witness is actually just like trying to get each of these people on side of like join me actually.
I enjoyed that he didn't even bother with Ikora. He was like, "Nah, there's no way in fuck.
No way in hell."
Beat my fucking ass.
Yeah, but so we're tracking down Zavala. I think it's like a radio signal or something. We come out of a cave into a big kind of open area.
Meckii cry number 2.
Yeah, it's Zavala's house, and it's if you remember the scene from the launch trailer, there's the little shack with the witness head smoke coming out of the chimney. It's that is where we go, and that is where we find Zavala.
And I like clocked it immediately and then got angry. If you remember, I got pissed. I was like, that's Zavala's house with Hakim. And then I was like, get fucked. Yeah. Get fucked. Like, I realized what was happening.
And we find Zavala standing over by a tombstone, just kind of having a moment to himself. And then a bunch of enemies show up because it's a video game.
Yeah. But that's what got me, was seeing the house upset me. And then I got angry that the witness was doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw him at the tombstone for Hakim and Safi, and then immediately got fucking that little cutscene of dialogue between him and the guardian kind of had me tearing up.
Yeah,
because he's more or less just like, leave me alone.
Yeah, I just want to deal with this, and you keep bringing it up.
Typical Zavala fashion, as we learn in Season of the Nightmares, is to block everyone out.
Yeah.
He did it with Amanda, he did it, with Cade, and he obviously did it when the nightmares of Safi and Hakim came back.
Yeah, and speaking of blocking it out, he spends that entire combat just
smallest barricade.
Well, he's got the rally barricade, which is the one that you crouch down behind, you get faster reloads. But he's just the entire time between two rocks, just getting sturdy with it behind the barricade, just squatting down, just shooting, but not very well and not much. But he's just
power stance behind this dog shit barricade.
So many times I look over and there's like 6 shanks just fucking sitting around him, shooting him in the head, and he's just like, huh. Just what?
He's getting.
What are you doing?
Ganked in the back of the head with a shank, and just not moving.
Yeah,
unmoved, unbothered.
Because at least with the Ikora one, like, oh, she's meditating, she's not actively part of this fight. Like, no, Zavala was involved. Like, he didn't pull his weight. Come on, dude, get it together.
But then, as you go through waves, intermittently yelling commands and demands of the Guardians, like, shut up, bro.
He's gonna turn around and be like, hey, Zavala, I need you to lock in right now. What are you doing?
Getting sturdy behind the pissiest barricade.
So funny. He's just a guy.
So you do that little battle, and then it shows a cutscene essentially of how the witness is trying to break him down. So essentially, after you kill everything, Zavala's like, leave me the fuck alone. Please. Like, just go away. And you're like, bro, what did I do? And then he goes inside, and the witness has basically created a statue of Safi reaching out to him.
Yeah.
And that's where he's given kind of the temptation of like, you could have it. You could have it back if you wanted. Like, be a disciple. Hello, you want your son and wife back? I can do that for you.
I've got them in this box. I dug them up.
Sign here. And then, that's kind of where the conflict for Zavala comes from, where he's like, I could, but also like, fuck this guy.
Yeah. Yeah, and it starts to lean more and more towards fuck this guy in a way that is deeply self-destructive.
Yeah. and that's the thing too. It's like, for me, the conflict, in my interpretation of that internal conflict, is coming from like, I could have this, but it means the final shape. but also fuck this guy for dangling my dead wife and kid over me.
Mm.
Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And that just like him being like, he didn't say season of nightmares, but he's just like, I'm done losing people. I'm done with this pain. I put so much of this behind me in season of like
Yeah.
nightmares. Fuck this guy for bringing this all back up again when I've been working so hard to let go.
Yeah.
And now he's digging this shit back up again and using it to hurt me. Like, how dare he weaponize this against me?
Yeah. And then we get another campfire. We get
more campfires.
The Cade and Zavala reunion, which is maybe less frosty than the Ikora one, but still not like, it's not a happy reunion. This man was dead.
Yeah. And then Zavala's kind of got to be like, hey, so Amanda.
Yeah. And Cade says something that I wrote down in quotes that I want to read verbatim, which is, eventually you have to let go. And part of me, part of me finds that so funny.
You said this out loud.
Part of me finds it so funny that Cade is the one to say that, because it almost feels like it's directly addressing the Destiny community of like, hey everyone, I died. You have to learn how to process that. It was very funny to me and you, I think, and I don't know that everybody else looks at it that way.
But I just found it really funny when he said that. I think both of us were like, Bungie audience.
Which, look, grief is hard, but also it's a natural part of living, is dealing with grief and all of that.
Humanity.
Yeah.
Like, it's humanity is to grieve and to lose and to mourn. So, and they talk about that a lot in this expansion.
Yeah. Yeah, but it is a lot of like Zavala and Cade seemingly sharing in their mourning of Amanda, as well as like obviously them having a reunion, but
it also, like, in one of the cutscenes, I can't remember exactly where in the Zavala little through line it pops up. I think it's after you defeat everything at the house. There's even a scene where he's fixing up, we figured it out, it's Cade under that shroud. It wasn't anyone special. He makes sure the shroud is covering Cade properly. And then he goes to touch the body and Taj stops him.
Taj being Zavala's ghost. I don't know how often that name has come up before this expansion,
yeah,
but it was used a lot.
Tage. Taj stops him and basically shakes his head like, don't.
Yeah.
And then through that, we also discover that when Hakim died, Zavala wanted to give his ghost to Hakim and basically get Taj to resurrect Hakim, to the point he was threatening to kill Taj over it.
Yeah.
You know, so that was interesting.
Yeah.
That felt very pointed for him to be like, yeah, so I lost Cade and I lost Amanda and I lost my family, and the reason I'm fighting the Witness is because I'm sick of people I love dying.
Yeah, that's kind of his whole bag in this story, is like, everyone around me has died. Why do I get to live and they don't? Like, it's very much survivorship bias playing out in a brutal way.
Yeah. And it's
survivor's kind of more than anything. Yeah.
Yeah. You kind of learn through this cutscene too that it was this pain and that loss that made him as powerful as he is, unfortunately, as well, because he starts off as a guardian very weak and not a very good guardian, we learn.
Yeah.
In these cutscenes, he was not a very good guardian.
Yeah.
Died a lot. And it was his friends and the people he loved and then losing them that pushed him to be a better guardian, because he wants to protect, and it pushed him to join the Vanguard and become the man he is now.
Yeah, I so wish you had done more of the post-campaign stuff before this episode, because there's like a couple of things that come up that are really relevant to what you've just said in a way that I think you'll enjoy. And I almost mentioned them, but I'm just going to put a pin in it and say like, hey, let's come back to that when you've done it. Because
shoot it in the show notes for next time.
Yeah, there's a bit between It's like I think a radio thing between Ikora and Zavala that is very funny, but also very sweet.
I think that's it. We find Zavala, and then Zavala goes on an absolute fucking warpath.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember where. There's some stuff before. Like one of the lines I wrote is Zavala being a dick. There's a bunch of stuff that happens before that.
The cry number 3 when we're walking through the Cosmodrome.
Yeah. Oh,
in the highway.
Yeah.
That's after we save Zavala because we've got to head to the next camp for some reason. I forgot why.
There's something. I don't know.
I think we're following fishes. Is that the mission? Yes. So we're following those fishes.
Yeah, they're like the cracks in the ground where there's like light almost like bursting out.
And one of those fishes is where Ghost finds us.
Yeah. And they describe it as like the most powerful one of those fishes.
And while you're standing there and Ghost is monologuing about like, I found you. And ever since we've been together forever and we're part of each other. And I'm so glad I found you because you gave me purpose because I didn't know what the Traveler made me for until I picked up on your signal. And you're here now and you're great and I love you, basically. But then they play like the soundtrack from that cutscene in the background. And yep, that wasn't just a little cry, that was a big cry.
Yeah. And then they made up for it, and by instead of offering you a box of tissues, they offered you a brand new super that is on the shortest fucking cooldown I've ever seen, and then a bunch of enemies start spawning, and you just go nuts. And it's very good.
So I finally got to play with my new super.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
It looks cool.
Yeah. I got that Twilight. That was me getting that Twilight Barricade for the Twilight Arsenal for the first time, and just like there was so many axes littered on the ground because of how short that cooldown was, and they sit there for a good like 10 seconds or something.
I forgot that your allies can pick them up, so I went and picked one up, and I was like, "Oh my god, Chili, look at me!"
Yeah.
Now I know what it's like to be you. I'm just like bonking things and like.
Did you throw it as well?
Yeah. I'm like, so is this good. What this feels like?
It's so good, dude. I love it so much.
What it's like to be a Titan.
Yeah, it's like honestly a bit like just hit things with big things. That's kind of most of it.
Yeah, and then my ability charges if you guys are in my aura. It supercharges all of your class abilities and super and stuff. It just basically makes your everything recharge real quick.
Yeah. But also we were doing the legendary campaign. We're doing the legendary campaign, so we were moving around way too much for that to be useful.
And then while I'm in it, I can throw these grenades that track. They kind of look like golden snitches. They have wings. It's really funny.
Weird. Okay.
Yeah. And they actually do hella damage, and I'm pretty certain they also ignite.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. But these grenades were basically, it was like hitting something with Xeno. Like it was doing pretty good damage.
Jeez. All right.
Yeah. One of the ogres that came up in that bit, I pretty much melted it by itself with like 1 or 2 grenades.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So excited to play with that more in my support lock.
You can also run it in a prismatic build.
Yeah. What a strong scene.
Yeah.
What a mean thing to do to us.
Yeah, well, the light fissures then like come up a bit more because then it's basically like, hey, run through these 3 lost sectors, and then we
meet Luzaku.
Yes, yeah. Well, we're tracking down. I forget what we're tracking down through these lost sectors, but like there's more of the light fissures, and then there's Luzaku,
and then
an allied
out of nowhere
hive.
They're like. Yeah, so kind of what happens is they're like, hey, what the hell is the Lucent Hive doing here?
Yeah, that's right.
The Lucent Hive is here and they're like causing trouble. And I think initially you and I were like, oh my god, is Savathun back? Are we going to get Umaru back?
Yeah.
Like, is Umaru here? Ubabu? And then out of nowhere, a Lucent Hive wizard Queen.
Just a wizard, I think.
Luzaku starts helping us
Yeah.
and more terrifyingly starts talking to us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, don't like that. Scary voice, scary lady introduces themselves as this one.
Yes, I know. That was a little off-putting. No one talks that way.
This one is called Luzaku. This one wants to help.
Yeah.
This one this one thinks for itself.
Yeah.
Weirdo.
Yeah.
Also, she's got no legs.
No legs. Hover.
No legs.
Only hover.
We find another fissure at the end of that lost sector,
Mm-hmm.
and then they try and tap into it, and Crow is like, I don't feel anything. Like, I'm not getting anything from it.
Yeah.
And then we get a classic Cade moment of him pretending to get something and then just roasting Crow with it.
Yeah. And then actually getting something.
Him being like, why did you kill the most handsome hunter there was?
Yeah.
It's the children. They're crying.
Yeah.
Like shit like that.
Yeah.
And then, he's like, actually, no, wait, I'm getting something. And everyone's like, yeah, sure.
And then a big old vision. And it's kind of like the notes I have here are pretty sparse, but there's like kind of 3 scenes that we get shown. One is Crow overlooking the last city, and the word devotion is spoken. Then there's like Horror fighting, like in a combat, and also defending some Elixni. The word that's spoken there is bravery. And then the last one is Cade, and so like Zavala's overlooking the funeral plinth, and Cade is there as well, kind of like in the background watching him.
So just to preface, the one that's saying this is Sundance.
Yes. Yeah, it's like a conversation between Cade and Sundance. But yeah, Zavala overlooking that plinth, and the word being sacrifice. And then he sort of comes out of the vision, and they talk about it.
It's like, you forgot one.
You forgot one, which is death. And I don't remember kind of where that conversation was going, but there was one line in there where it ends with like, if that's the fate you make, guardians choose their own fate, etc. I just thought like if that's the fate you make is very, very heavy language to be thrown around.
Yeah.
Of like, yeah, you could do whatever you want, but
and
also
it was like, he was like, I got Sundance back, and then the witness took her away again, basically. At the end of the cutscene, he loses her again.
Yeah.
Or he gets pulled out of the vision.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. The witness kind of kicks him out of the vision. Yeah. But yeah, heavy moment for Cade. And then he comes out and is like, I basically don't want to talk to anyone. Fuck off.
Yeah.
And I get
Goes a bit Zavala mode, where he's like, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah, and then it's into Zavala being a dick. He essentially like leaves camp on his own, leaves his ghost behind. And he's like going to find the darkness, I think. Chasing down visions or something. But
basically Taj being like, I told him not to go, and he more or less said, well, fuck you, I'm going without you.
Yeah, and that's where we're introduced to the name Dissenter. And a lot of things get clarified very quickly.
We now know what the veiled ones are.
Yeah, so there's veiled statues.
And it's not anything anyone thought.
No, so the veiled statues are the people that coalesced to form the witness. But the statues that are around are these dissenters that the witness has basically put there, almost like they're in timeout, right? Or just like, hey, if you don't want to get on board, you can sit here and think about it, but like, we'll have this conversation later.
The one on the moon, the one in Deepstone, just pretty much anywhere you find one of those veiled statues, that is a dissenter.
Yeah.
But they're also
just cuts them out.
They're cut out, which is the exact term they use too. Yeah. But they're also a conduit for darkness still. Yes. So it's essentially the whispers that we hear whenever we're around those statues now becoming louder
Yeah.
because I think the witness in everyone is becoming more powerful.
Mm.
Um, so they talk to us now, and they talk to us like the witness, where it's overlapped voices, but there's one voice kind of at the forefront
Yeah.
for each different statue.
Yeah.
And that mission is basically Taj being like, "Oh, we have to find all of them
Yeah, and then Taj is
because
like
they're going to tell us what to do."
Taj basically interrogates them. It's so interesting. Like we walk up to the statue, Taj like goes up to their face, shines a light on them, and has a conversation. And the statues essentially
Yeah,
are like telling us some stuff and then guiding us further onwards towards the Vala via all these different statues.
yeah. Which that's crazy.
Mm.
That's um,
Because the way
and
it's
we
been, the way
kind
the
of
witness has been presented is like, yeah, everybody was on board. Everybody fucking just did the smush. And after that, it was like, cool, it's just one consciousness that's on one track. But it's no, it's they merge, and then there's still people who are like, actually, no, this might not be good.
yeah. It definitely seems like the kind of situation where everyone got roped into it, even if
Mm.
they dissented or not. And I think like the kind of through line in some of the lore that I read was basically you join me or you die. Like
Yeah,
that's it. Like you're dying and you're dying a painful death if you
yeah,
don't get in the head,
yeah, yeah.
become
Um,
smoke.
but yeah,
But
we
yeah,
get all the
I
way
thought it was the
through.
penitent. I thought it was the penitent, but not like that.
Yeah, yeah. I thought, yeah,
Yeah.
it's all just been like, what were the statues just like, references to them? It's like, no, these are actually just one of them in jail, essentially.
And it's kind of crazy because in that cutscene that we get in the launch trailer that we get at this point as well, I believe.
A little bit later, I think.
Yeah, because it's Zavala fighting internally with the concept of like, yeah, I could let this happen and I could get everything I wanted.
Yeah.
Um, which ties back to the Billie Eilish song used in the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then one of the dissenters basically shining a mirror in his eye and being like, "Hey, no, don't."
Yeah, that's right. He has that vision, and that was kind of the biggest question mark for me out of that launch trailer is like, what is that veiled one doing by getting his
And
attention? Is it like trying to pull him into the witnesses shit? No.
it's basically the dissenters telling Zavala what to do, like how we beat the witness.
Yeah.
And it almost shows the ceremony of how it happened too. Like they're all standing there veiled and they're kind of like swaying.
Yeah. Yeah. There's
And then
some really cool stuff visually
they
in
start
this.
like dropping and dying, and as they drop and die, smoke comes up out of them.
Yeah.
That was gorgeous. That was amazing imagery.
Yeah, because that I think is shown after Zavala like reaches out and touches the darkness, the
The
inky
goo.
stuff, and just fucking goes into it. Like everybody turns
Yeah.
up and is like, "Hey, don't do this," and he's like, "I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna walk in here."
I'm gonna touch it.
Yeah,
Don't touch it. I'm gonna touch it.
and there's a bit where like he touches it and the stuff goes onto him, and it looks like he almost goes to pull back, but is then pulled further into it. I don't know if
Yeah.
I was seeing that correctly, but yeah, he does just go in there, and that's where a lot of this
And
is kind of
it's
revealed.
the witness being like, "Come be a disciple. You could be a disciple if you wanted." And
Yeah.
then the dissenters being like, "Hey, hey, hey, hey," with
Hey,
that
listen.
mirror.
Hey,
Hey.
listen. Um,
I just find that so funny that he's like gazing upon everything he wanted, and the witness being like, "Hey, be a disciple with me," and him arguing with the witness, being like, "No, you wouldn't do that. Like, you're too stubborn to do
yeah,
that.
you
You
would
wouldn't
just
make me a
destroy
disciple."
us. Like, you don't need
And
a
then
disciple at this point.
one of the dissenters with something shiny, being like, "Hey, hey, look over here."
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a metaphor to do with like, well, I mean, when the witness appears in the past, it's been like shattered glass.
Mm. Yeah.
And then for the dissenter to have almost like a broken piece of mirror.
Yeah, it was.
But I just
Um,
thought it was a little bit funny thinking about it, just be like, "Hey, hey, hey," trying to
yeah.
distract him.
Yeah, but then Zavala's like in that void, basically just having a conversation with the witness. Um, and I think the witness like basically goes to just like grab Zavala or just like absorb him or something, and then Taj pops in.
Yeah.
Taj just fucking rushes in there, gets between them, and is like, "No, you are not going to do this." Actually, and the witness grabs Taj, and then Taj explodes, saving Zavala, but taking themselves out in the process.
Try number 4.
Yeah, this one got me a bit as well. More so because like I still wasn't sure how much we were dealing with like metaphor or false visions or like if because it did like in that instant it didn't make it clear that Taj had died, but like of course it did because the visual representation of like the explosion of light matched to when Cade's ghost got shot.
Yeah,
Um,
and when Osiris's ghost died too.
exactly. But that happens, allowing Zavala to like get pulled back out essentially.
It almost like snaps him.
Yeah, and then Zavala has to grapple with no longer having the light, which he doesn't
And
really take well.
still on a warpath because now
Yeah,
he's extra like fuck that guy.
yeah. And there was one bit not long after this scene where something Alex said really fucking tickled me, and I wrote it down here, and I'm saying it again because there's like it's a possibility, however small. He asked, "Can Cade become Zavala's ghost?"
Oh yeah.
Because
We were talking
like,
about it just being a floating head.
well, because like I said earlier, our ghost describes Cade as being made of light, just like a ghost. That might be how,
Is that
because Cade
the
has to go
Riven's
away again.
wish?
Yeah, everyone
Is
seems to
that
be like assuming that Cade is going to go away again. I don't know. Once this is all done, who knows?
we get an even more annoying ghost than Glint.
I mean, Glint's fine.
He's just a little dork.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't know if I like the idea of Cade being around
Just a
again.
floating exo head.
Yeah, yeah. It made me think of yeah, the god of the recent two God of War games where you
Oh
get
yeah.
you get Mimir and he's just a head hanging off your belt the whole time, just fucking yapping away next to your butthole. Just, but yeah, look, like I said, it is a possibility. I'm not ruling it out because there's been nothing that's come through the story that exclusively says like, no, that just wouldn't be possible. It's possible.
Yeah. But that's so funny.
It would be. It would be very funny. Um, yeah, then we go into the last mission after that, right? And it's
Yeah.
that's where there's like big knights that we're trying to kill. You remember back in
Shoot the
like
nut.
remember we'll get to that. You remember back in like Dreaming City Forsaken era when we're going to the Ascendant realm and there's those big fuck off hive knights that they're basically impossible to kill. These look like that, and they're killable. Don't get me wrong, but they are
They're very hard and
intimidating.
legendary.
They're intimidating on Legendary campaign,
They will
especially
kill you with one axe swipe or one sword swipe.
yeah. And this is kind of where like our shared journey in the campaign ends, is in this fight because we couldn't get it done on the day, and then I think you and Alex came back the next day and finished it, and I couldn't make the time work, so I just came back and finished it by myself. And that's where I got most viscerally reminded that they scale difficulty in the legendary campaign based on fire team size, because I found it a lot easier to do that fight by myself.
Yeah.
Um, Even though you don't have anyone to revive you, it's just like, yeah, the damage numbers are a bit easier to deal with. I also like thought about my build a bit more compared to when we were running through and just like, we've got to finish this, we've just got to keep going.
Yeah.
So
Before I went back in, I changed my build up, my prismatic
I
build.
basically just switched to running Heart of Inmost Light because it is the one where you use an ability it like boosts the other two. So I was just like looping them way more quickly.
Yeah, that's where I tested my getaway artist build.
Yeah.
was in that final fight, and I swapped off that auto rifle I'm obsessed with now.
Yeah. So not quite the final fight though. Not yet. Um, it's like pretty this first big fight that you do in the final mission is like pretty standard Destiny fare of like go through a portal, kill a couple of big enemies that drop some symbols, and then you come back out of the portal and do something with the symbols, and that lets you damage
Oh
the
yeah,
boss. Yeah.
through the whole campaign we get, just to add on to stuff, the glyph touched.
Yes.
And you're looking at glyphs like you would in VOD, Vow
Yeah.
of the Disciple.
Yeah.
Which was fun. It was fun to see those back.
And some of them are glyphs that don't appear in that raid. They are new.
Like the PlayStation triangle.
Yeah, or the ghost that's been cut in half.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like a big fight. It's a fight against a big ogre, and you've got to do like what 2 or 3 rounds of going in and getting symbols and all of that.
2 runs of symbols, depending on how much damage you shit into the ogre.
Yeah. So that's, you know, it's hard because the enemies are tough. It's not like mechanically all that challenging, except for like having to find in the 4 corners of that other room we just started calling it the nut, but the thing that you shoot to give you a fresh 45 seconds of glyph touch.
It looks like an acorn,
really
and
does.
I think of it started off as acorn and then developed into nut.
Yeah.
And then that just developed into a group of friends asking each other if they need the nut.
Yeah. It's exactly
or
what
time
happened.
to nut.
Time to
Everyone in the center, nut.
Yeah. But yeah, the thing I found doing that solo is like managing the nut was a lot easier. Because like the room is kind of like divided into 2 sides where those big knights are, and you need to stack a bunch of damage. You need to stack a bunch of damage into them, but they kind of like teleport out when they've taken a certain amount, and then they come back. Or they at least like move around in a way that you can't just like keep wailing on them. So it's basically just like going backwards and forwards down one side and just like hitting them whenever I saw them.
They fucking dodge supers.
Yeah. But it was a lot easier
Cataclysm
doing that.
And they dodged every time. I was so angry.
Yeah, it was a lot easier doing that without 3 of us like needing revives and like getting in each other's way a bit. Because with 3 of us, I also don't think we could have soloed one of the knights. Like the numbers are just different when it gets scaled up like that. But anyway, we got through it, albeit separately. And then you go into the actual final fight.
Yeah,
which is it is against the witness.
Yeah.
But I went into that knowing that we already knew you will not be beating the witness until the raid.
Yeah. So that is basically the boss encounter arena for that is meant to be where the ritual was performed.
Yeah. Yeah, because like in like one of the things the dissenter says to Zavala, I believe,
what is done in the dark can be undone.
What is made can be unmade is specifically the words they use. And then they kind of piece that together of like, we need to go to where the witness was made, and that is where we will unmake them.
Yeah. And then through the fight you get some more dissenter dialogue. But the TLDR is basically kill us and you start to sever the witness's link and you're weakening the witness.
Yeah.
So I think you end up killing 3 dissenters with a sword. And then the witness is more or less like, ow, this sucks. Bye.
Yeah. And it's like through this fight is really, or like even leading up to this fight is the first time you ever hear emotion in the witness's voice. Like,
the witness is pissed.
Anger in there, and like voices are changing and all this sort of shit.
Angry.
Yeah.
Like, all the voices are yelling, but the voice at the primary that you hear quite often at the front, which is that soft-spoken kind of methodical, like, I guess like hypnotic voice, is the one that you kind of hear at the front of the sound design whenever the witness talks.
Yeah.
That is like, it's modulated to sound like deep and angry, and it's like basically yelling at that point.
Yeah.
And then you beat him, and then he tried to grab you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
big hand. That man loves his faces and hands.
He really does. He really does. God, it's just it was a brutal fight.
Yeah, it's rough. Between the dread version of a tormentor in the center, just fucking wailing on you with
What is it?
stasis.
It's a
And in
subjugator,
legendary,
right?
yeah, subjugator. Which is weird because that's what Rolk was called. Rolk was called the subjugator.
Yeah. They just had more of those, it's fine.
The
Rolk's just a
littler
very big one.
ones. Rolk bigs. Well, they are kind of shaped like Rolk.
Yeah. But yeah, the boss fight is broken down into 3 phases. Basically, kill the subjugator. You use both the Aegis shield and then the sword that is like also made of light.
So you get a dark nut, or someone gets the nut. They go into a hallway to grab the Aegis shield, and then the Aegis shield is used to defend you during one of the witnesses' attacks, which is where he basically does like a big tornado of darkness. Like it's the shards that he throws.
Yeah.
Once that's done, you then get the sword. Which, did you notice what that sword is?
No.
It is the sword from the top of the grave.
Which grave?
The Guardian's grave in that one mission.
Wait. Which?
So,
this campaign
early
or
in no, ages ago. There's I forgot the name of the mission, but it's a mission basically where you end up confronting yourself and then you come across a grave and you learn that it's your grave.
Oh, this is like Corridors of Time shit, right?
Yeah.
The Saint.
And there's a sword sitting on top of the grave.
Yeah.
It's that one.
Right. Okay. I did not catch that.
Which I clocked during our first run when I first saw it, and Alex was like, "Do you want to pick that up?" And I picked it up, and I had a like little squee moment, I got excited. But we were in the middle of a boss fight, so I didn't mention it. But I clocked it, and I was like, and then I went and Googled it. People were like, "Is that the fucking sword from the grave?" And I was like, "Oh my god, I wasn't the only one who clocked it."
Yeah.
So what you do is you use that to pop a darkness node, and then you basically press E to welcome the darkness or something.
Well, you're like communing with the darkness or something like at the base of that statue.
Yeah, and it teleports you through to where the dissenters are, and that's where you get some more lore dumping, which is basically like you take us out, you weaken the witness.
Yeah.
Quick, do it before he figures out what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then you get pulled back out, and then from then on, you've got to watch a darkness debuff.
Yeah, you're essentially like you get that glyph touched condition that lasts for 45 seconds, and when it runs out, you're just taking damage from the air. So you've got
poison.
There are nuts all over the place, and you've got to like juggle that in addition to repeating the first phase.
And watching the witness, because the witness will teleport around the map and absolutely gank you with rocks and shit.
Yeah, shit was rough.
It was a lot to juggle, but manageable. Even in Legendary. I think it took us 4 goes and we got through it.
Yeah. And then, you do the whole loop again. You get a sword for the second time. You go in, more dialogue from the dissenter. You cut it down. Third time is maybe the most interesting. You come out, and Ikora and Zavala are in the arena shooting things, and they basically say, like, just grab the sword and do it again. Like, they just shortcut the entire fucking thing in a way that I really appreciated.
Yeah. Well, it's not the final boss fight against the witness, so but it was really good to come out and then the gang is all here.
Yeah. And for them to just be like, just end this now. Like, don't do a whole phase.
We'll hold down the fort. You need to go back in and do it again. Yeah. Except the witness is like, I know what you're fucking doing. I'm not happy about it.
Yep.
I'm gonna squish you.
Yeah.
And then that's basically it. Zavala and Ikora basically are like, oh shit, run.
Yeah. And then it's
go.
Yeah, I think that's where, like, again, some of the scenes from the launch trailer show up of like one of them falling and getting back up, and like, yeah, everyone's like
Big hand.
very close to the big hand getting them the whole time.
Yeah, there is a split second there where you think you might lose Cade or Crow
Yeah.
because they cut it very close. It's Mara coming in with the helm and tell her, "Oh, that's it."
Yeah.
So basically, the witness starts to basically pull the place apart, and he's real mad. And then all of a sudden, the helm is there,
Yes.
and Mara's like, "Hello,
Yeah, I'm
I'm
here to
here to
pick you up.
teleport
Your
you.
Uber is here.
Hello, sorry I'm late." Um, which is yeah, that actually she shows up a little bit before that mission or leading into that mission because there's a scene where he pauses the helm in midair and basically says to us, or Crow, he says to one of us, "You have a choice."
Mm.
Basically insinuating that he could, if he wanted to, destroy the helm with
Yeah.
Mara and
I think
everyone in it.
that's right before everyone leaves and runs out of the arena. Like they're standing in front of that statue, and the
Yeah.
witness is there, does that, and
So
then
there was a
something
second as
interrupts them.
well. Yeah. There's a lot of moments where you're like, "Oh, this is it. This is where one of them dies."
Yeah.
And then they dangle it in front of you, so you get just anxious enough,
Yeah.
and then they get pulled out at the last second, which I think is nice. Just not straight up ganking. Well, I mean, Taj got ganked,
Well,
but
yeah.
just not straight up killing someone
Yeah.
in that final stretch because it's what everyone expected was someone was going to die in that final stretch. But like keeping everyone on tenterhooks, and now everyone except for Taj is out safe.
Mm-hmm.
But we're all still on edge. Like there's like a safe Destiny 2 server I'm in that's very like minority focused.
Right.
And like people are like, someone's dying.
Yeah.
It's got to be the raid. Someone's dying in the raid. Like something is
What
they.
the thing
It's
is,
gonna be big and it's gonna hurt.
there's still one more mission that unlocks after the raid's beaten, so that could be where some shit goes down.
Yeah. We're all in there just being like, this Bungie wouldn't just give us like a and everyone walks off into the sunset ending.
I mean, they might, but yeah, I
They
get what you
might,
mean.
but like they're gonna there's something's coming other than like whatever happens after the raid, like in terms of the witness. I'm like, something's coming. Like
Yeah.
something big is coming. They're not
Yeah.
gonna just be like, and everyone lived happily ever after. There's
And
gonna be
yeah,
that big gut punch that they do. Every expansion there is a gut punch, and I don't think Taj was the punch.
no, there's a lot of like medium-sized punches throughout this one.
Yeah. They're gonna go out with a bang.
Yeah.
So everyone's still on
I
tenterhooks.
know.
Everyone's
I
like,
know.
what is this raid gonna do? What are these missions gonna do?"
I got nothing.
Ugh.
Just gotta wait for someone to beat
Oh,
it,
yeah.
and then we'll know.
What a phenomenal campaign. I'm really happy with it.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. I want to like I want to take either my hunter or warlock through it just on normal, just to like go through it again without the stress of legendary and the extra difficulty, and just like kind of just experience it in a slower pace, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So a little bit of post campaign because I've done a little bit of it.
Mm-hmm.
Someone's back.
Someone is back.
And I'm excited.
Yeah. I'm not really sure how. But someone's back.
Maybe that's the wish. Oh, well, if you guys get Cade back, I'll bring her back too. Why not?
Yeah. Yeah, because I wasn't sure if I missed something, but then there was like
Riven.
there was a
You
line
forget Riven.
in
We
one
haven't
of
even
the,
said. We're just dancing around
should
it.
we?
Bye.
No. I feel like I wanted to say it because it's already spoiler
Yeah.
territory, right? Savathun is back in some form, in Pog
Fucking
form.
around in the Traveler.
Yeah.
And just being a real smartass about it again, too.
How much of that quest line have you done?
I've done up to where you fight her and then she disappears and basically does the whole, like, typical Savathun, haha, I'll be back,
Yeah.
kind of fuckery. And she's like, oh, by the way, I'm gonna keep sending Lucen and Hive here
Yeah,
just to
but
shit you
but she
off.
frames it as like to sharpen you, as
Yeah.
if like she's preparing us for some other thing.
But she's also keeps calling it a game.
Yes.
She's like, "Oh, the witness isn't the only game that's afoot right now.
Mm.
Um, I'm moving pieces again. Now that I'm back moving chess pieces again." You're like, "What do
Yeah.
you mean?
Yeah, and it's
Excuse me?"
that whole quest line is like Savathun v Mara. Like it's very much just the two of
Yeah.
them butting heads.
So I'm wondering if she's the catch-22 to Cade being back.
I mean, like maybe.
And then Riven and Sav had a deal
Well,
too, don't forget.
also remember that like her ghost is like was always around, so like her coming back was always on the table.
Maybe Ikora being back in the Traveler gave Umaru the ability to seek out
Yeah, because
Savathun's
I think there
body.
was like some line in one of those missions from that quest line where I felt like I was missing something of how Savathun is able to be back and talking to us, but then they just like I think Mara or someone says like, but how essentially, right? Like I haven't missed anything; they just haven't shown it yet.
And then Savathun more or less being like, "Oh, you'll find out
Yeah,
in time."
yeah.
But it's Savathun as a character. She's back.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason her like trickery feels less malicious this time round.
It's more playful.
Yeah. And it's almost like she's reveling in the fact that we're where we need to be. She
Yeah,
led us here.
yeah.
And we're here now. And she's like, don't forget, she was more or less like, don't forget that I'm the reason you're here.
Mm.
You're being so rude to me. Don't forget I'm the reason you're here. I
Yeah,
led you all here. Like, you wouldn't be here without me.
yeah, yeah.
If I hadn't have dissented, you guys wouldn't have been here without me.
Well, we'll have to find out more in the coming weeks, I guess. Like
Yeah,
I
I'm like
finished that quest
itching
line.
because
There's
I
yeah,
love Savathun. So
yeah,
like when
so good.
it's so lame. When she first started talking, I literally went I was so excited she was back.
Oh, it's so good.
I love her.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, "Mother? You've returned? Moth Mummy is back?"
Yes, apparently so. Yeah, there's also like some fun quests in there around like you're finding lost ghosts. There's a whole system there.
Um, Micah?
Micah 10. Yeah.
Was that not the name of the kid with the penguins in
I think
Braytech?
so, but I would
Is
have to
that
check.
is that related? If it is, because
Look, it's a
she's
great
Micah
question.
she's Micah 10,
Yeah,
which means they were
I mean, I don't usually do this here, but I've just fact checked it in real time. Micah 10, born as Micah Abram. Uh, yeah, that is the kid from the Penguin story.
oh, I'm so glad they became a guardian.
We're up to 5.
I'm so happy they became a guardian.
That was all they wanted. And now they're inside the travel. Well,
No.
they're helping us in the Traveler track down
They're
unpartnered
part of
lost
the
ghosts.
6 coyotes.
Yeah, correct.
No. They got what they wanted.
Yeah,
Shit. I didn't connect it until then, and
yeah.
I've been, like, doing all the "Oh, and you're finding lost ghosts after finding the lost No, I gotta go. Can't do this. Bungie, I
I
can't do this.
I couldn't see if you were still in the room, so I was about to just sign off the episode.
Oh, I didn't connect the dots.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
you're finding lost and hurt ghosts
yeah.
after
I've done a few of those. They're all very sweet. And then there's a
Bungie.
bunch more of it, but yeah,
I can't believe I only just connected the dots when I was like, "Oh yeah, Micah." And then I had like a "That's so Raven" like
yeah.
what?
All right, let me redirect. I've done a bunch of Pathfinder stuff.
Yeah.
I've because you get the there's like the ritual activities pathfinder that you get when you launch the game. Then there's the one specifically for the location of the Pale Heart that you get some point during the campaign or after it. I've reset it a couple times. I've done a bunch of the what do they call it? Overthrow. Have you seen those around? Like when you go into the patrol zones.
Yes.
Yeah, I finished that a few times through. They're very good.
I've been so focused on getting these last few story missions done that I kind of ran through one.
Yeah. So like if you just by yourself, it takes a while because there's like 4 levels to it. 3 of the
You
levels.
You got to get 1,000 enemies.
No.
In one of them.
You got to get 1,000 points. Like for each of the first 3 levels, and there are like random objectives that pop up in those areas that are worth like 450 each. Like they take a bit of work. They're like mini public event level in terms of the amount of work you got to do, but they're pretty quick once you know how to do them. So if you want to get through like the 3 levels that spawn the 4th level, which is just a like Lucent Hive boss fight essentially, it's pretty straightforward to do. You can also just like opening the chests around the area are like 15 points or something. So like it's not too much work to get there, but a lot of the Pathfinder objectives are like related to that or in those areas. So you end up just doing a bunch of it anyway. But the reward that you get, have you seen the exotic sword, Ergo Sum?
Ergo Sum nuts. What?
Ergo Sum is actually like half of the phrase in Latin that means I think, therefore I am. I think that's.
I wonder if there's going to be another exotic that balances that or like finishes the phrase.
Yeah, so it's Cogito. Cogito Ergo Sum is I think, therefore I am. I think that's how you pronounce it. Anyway, it is a
So this is just I am.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so.
That's the sword.
With the ghost at the end of the hilt.
Yeah, that's the sword.
So
that's the one you pick up in
let me tell you about this.
Fight.
Let me tell you about this really weird sword. It takes special ammo.
Oh, cool.
For a start, and it gets random rolls. So when you reset and do the Pathfinder, you get like I think 2 or 3 a week. You can roll it, and the randomness extends to its exotic perk.
So you could get like a rocket launcher sword?
No. It's more that they've taken exotic perks from other exotics and in some cases slightly reworded them to make them work for a sword. So I'll tell you about a few of the ones I've seen or earned. One that I earned, you remember the Colony? It's like a heavy grenade launcher that spawns little insectoid robot freaks.
I loved the Colony.
It does that.
Excuse me?
That's one that I have in my vault. I saw a picture of one that has Wolfpack rounds. But they've reworded it so that it says like for nearby sword users as opposed to rocket launchers, obviously. And another one that I have is the perk from Cloud Strike. So obviously, Cloud Strike is a precision hit will
lightning sword.
So Cloud Strike obviously says precision hits cause a lightning strike. What the sword says when it has that is rapid kills make a lightning storm at the location. So you'll be in the location where it hits probably. But I think it also might be a caster frame sword, so you could actually be at range. It's fucking
lightning
mental.
Sword.
Yeah, I want to see if I can find the list of what it can drop with, because already what I've seen is insane. I haven't used it. I just looked at it and went, wait, what? What are you doing?
That's stupid. I'm so excited.
Yeah. So I wanna see exactly how it works because I just have questions.
You could, if you got the Cloud Strike one, you could feed that sword into a pretty good arc build.
Probably.
Because there is an arc build that Cloud Strike services in that way that like interesting.
Yeah. Ergo Sum.
Interesting.
It's a whole wild little guy.
I am.
Yeah, just I am the sword.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the grave sword.
Yeah, I have 3 of them. I think, or
Oh
2. I'm not sure. I need to look. But yeah,
man, I'm definitely gonna try and get Pathfinder stuff done so I can.
yeah, and like honestly, those Pathfinder objectives are really quick to do. Like I was just running around doing like also just running around the Pale Heart Patrol Zone is so much fun. It's just all the little things to do that pop up because of the way the Pathfinder system is laid out and the way that like overthrow just forces you into different systems and different things interacting. And I'm just like, I'll run through an area going to something, and I've just been completely sidetracked for 20 minutes by some enemy that popped up. It's so fun to just be in that space. It's very good.
I will probably definitely jump into everything a little bit more today.
Mm.
Um, Definitely want to get those last story missions done, post story missions done, and then potentially when we log back on, we'll get a cutscene.
Yeah, yeah. I'm
I
trying to
don't know where
just,
they at. I
dude.
haven't been keeping an eye on
I'm
it.
trying to just have a quick look to see if anything's popped off, but like no one seems to have beat it.
I was gonna say all the people we've been keeping an eye on today are still running it,
Yeah,
so
it's been 12
it looks
hours
like
and no one's
most of them are
beaten it.
still stuck on that encounter.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe later tonight we
Maybe
will be able to
tomorrow.
see it. I don't know. It'd be so wild if it went past 24 hours.
Yeah. That'll be the first time in Destiny history
Well,
that's
yeah,
happened,
because
right?
because contest mode used to only be the first 24,
Yeah.
and now it's the first 48 because they wanted more people to be able to have that experience. And that used to be like the thought of like, oh, we'll give contest mode a shot, and if it's too rough, we'll come back the next day. But now it's like you'll come back the next day, it's still going to be as hard.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, but look, this has been quite a long episode, as we thought it would be. Um, so thank you if you've made it to this point of the episode. You're at the end. Don't worry. I just had to cough. Yeah, we will. Look, we'll be back next week. Next time, we'll see how we go um, with more of the post campaign stuff having looked into. Also, whatever happens after the raid, and also whatever happens with the beginning of the season. Because I haven't
Yeah.
like there is a quest in my inventory for it, but I'm pretty sure it
For the echoes, yeah.
doesn't really start until week 2. That's kind of what they were saying before release.
Yeah, even then I'm pretty certain the first mission for echoes is go talk to the table in the helm.
Yeah, which I could do now. I just don't think I'm gonna end up being able to get far through it, so I just haven't touched it.
Yeah. Yeah, my focus is entirely on lore stuff
Yeah,
and campaign stuff right now. So if
yeah,
I get that done this weekend, I might go poke around and see what's going on
yeah,
everywhere else. Give
yeah.
Pathfinder a couple of runs.
That's it.
Get me a fucked ass sword.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what one. If I could think of any exotic weapon to take the perk from it and put it in a sword and have that be exactly right for you.
Xeno.
So it is a caster frame sword. I'm pretty sure. Let me just double check that. I did have it open. Now I've lost it. But yeah, so like maybe it's just it explodes when it hits. Who knows? Um, God, I'm trying to think of what would anarchy. Every hit lands an anarchy mine, and you just have to chain them up.
Oh, another bunch of freaks.
Yeah, I mean they
More
wouldn't really
round friends for
wouldn't
my build.
probably wouldn't let you land them on walls to set up traps. But anyway, we'll think about it. We'll get back to you. Hey, like and subscribe, do all the stuff. Maybe in the comments, tell us which part of the story made you cry.
Please don't bully me for crying.
That just shows that you're human.
I might cry more.
Yeah. But hey, until next time, we'll. I don't know how to sign off at this point. We've seen everything.
Thank you for hanging out.
Yes.
It's been a long one. It's been a heavy one.
Yep. We will find out what the future of Destiny actually looks like together, just not today.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye, friends.